Right, our next presenter is Ubageng Tekisho from Tabanju Youth Alive. All right, Buti, sorry, English.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson.
Before confirmation. All right, may you please raise your right hand. All right, your right hand. Do you solemnly declare that the facts you are going to present before this panel today will be the truth and the whole truth?
I solemnly declare.
All right, thank you. Please state your full name and your designation at Tabanju Youth Alive.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Ubageng Tekisho. I'm a coordinator of Tabanju Youth Alive. It's a non-profit organization that consists of young people around Tabanju with the main objective of addressing issues that are socio-economic issues, socio-economic challenges that are affecting young people around Tabanju. So with the objective of maybe addressing the socio-economic challenges that are affecting Mangaung Metro municipality. Okay. Chairperson, my presentation to the House will be very much easy and straight to the point. Looking forward to the crisis that are affecting ESCOM and how police can assist ESCOM in terms of addressing the challenges that they are maybe confronted with. The crises that are happening, that led to the collapse of ESCOM as a state-owned or as a state-owned okay. We are quite aware of the crisis or the problems that have faced ESCOM in the past, and as civil society we are trying to come up with strategic ideas to best assist this state-owned power center. However, Chairperson, our solution to the problem would be if Nersa could assist us in terms of making sure that they address some of the resolutions that were taken by the society, most especially taking into account the issue of expropriation of land without compensation. I think it can address the problems that are faced within Nersa and ESCOM in general. For instance, this issue of expropriation of land without compensation is going to give access to the society in making sure that whoever who comes on the environment has control over the mineral resources that are within the society. There's aid in itself has control over it. I think by sourcing or by sourcing, if we can adequately expropriate and without compensation, such that enables states to have control over the mineral resources, it's by sourcing or by sourcing, that's the way we can address the challenges that ESCOM are having, most especially taking into account the fact that one of the key or paramount issues that led to the collapse was the issue of finances, and originally I was to say that if we are having a PFMA, Public Finance Management Act, that states categorically how state organs should be governed and operated and how finance any account or any accounts or money that the ESCOM receives, and then the ESCOM it does not happen but generates money out of the customer to the audience, and Nersa later regulate ESCOM such that there is no capital expenditure, in terms of mismanagement of funds, mistake against the issue of let us do capital expenditure. And looking into the should also review the fact that the financial body has always made a issue that in conjunction with Nersa, to simply the financial systems.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tekisho. We appreciate your time and your presentation, as well as the proposals that you have put forward. Thank you for your time.
In conclusion, I don't know if anyone may allow me to say what is particular point that I'm leaving out, that such particular companies are going to face if next time such companies when they have been organized. Nersa is simply that access to this particular companies is inevitable, because in the end of the day, we manage representing different constituency places, and it's not fair. If that's done in our view is that it's a public hearing, let all citizens of South Africa with different constituency places have access into this particular public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll take that into consideration with regards to the location of these public hearings, to make sure everyone, even communities, at least that they will have some access. They will have access to these gatherings and state their views. Thank you for your time. All right. Thank you, Tekisho. We are moving on to check if we've got Muloki Koloi. Muloki, may you please come forward? All right, Ndate Muloki.
Yes.
Muloki Koloi. All right, may you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly declare that the facts you're going to share with this panel today will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Please state your full name, and perhaps you can share with us as to whose views are you going to represent today, or what community are you standing in for in this hearings?
Our minds are still entrenched in fossil fuels, in coal, and all that. I think the Department of Energy is in full control and leads the energy mix process in the country, and the NDA gives us a direction as to what we must do. Now, go down here. This area. The second slide. This one. Now, with specific reference to the UK, where Mr. Nicole comes from, South Africa was specific reference to Northern Cape as one of the richest irradiation worldwide. Fossil fuels and their concomitant skill ills and environmental perils we are all aware of. We are also painfully aware of the youth unemployment and poverty and social challenges in the nation. Now, I'm speaking under correction. Our concern is that ESCOM aims to pay off some of its debt when the bailout and the tariff increase. I'm speaking under correction. That needs to be corrected. If that is the intention, then we cannot agree with it. And then ESCOM says its sales are on a downward spiral due to the economic meltdown. More questions. Is it that South Africa, with all its skilled people, cannot come around turnaround strategy. Why is ESCO unable to do it? We've got engineers, we've got skilled people in this country, and we've got this task team that has been, interministerial task team that has been formed. Why can't we come with solutions? Why are we still stuck in this old way of doing things? Some years ago, I applied to RCA to go to Germany, and we did a course there on renewable energy for 3 weeks. Now I'm asking myself, are the universities in South Africa not up to speed? Why is it that they cannot advise government? Or is it the other way around, that government does not want to listen to our experts in this country in renewable energy? Is the advice not out there? Why are we still worried about coal and so on? And why cannot we, the universities, be reservoirs of RE knowledge, instead of us having to go to Germany to get this knowledge from them? There's no sun there in Germany. All the sun is here in South Africa. We've got the expertise here. Why don't we implement those projects? I was hearing the gentleman here talking about the IBET or some. Those are terms we people come from Bantu education. We don't know those things. We don't know RCA. We don't know the MYPD. I thought for a moment they were going to talk about the Los Angeles Police Department. So those are terms we don't know of. I'm speaking here from an ordinary person in the street who wants to ask very simple questions. At some stage, they were in Northern Cape about renewable energy. Because of the inefficiencies in ESCO, they were thinking of having their own grid there. Now, because of the national political framework we've got in the country, obviously that was not going to work. If ESCO is still forced to use coal as the primary energy cost, why are the coal mining companies not coming to the party? Why are they not being challenged to reduce the cost of mining coal? Because coal is extremely expensive. And we also have international protocols to attend to in terms of agreement with environmental concerns. But we are looking at coal, we're not looking at other solutions, we're not looking at RE. We've got the wherewithal to do that, but we're not doing it. Have we benchmarked with other countries on best practices in RE strategies? Can we not look at a model in Britain, which has the British Broadcasting Corporation and with some level of privatization, as well as the energy supply? Can't we learn from those countries? What are we saying about those countries that have got 100% renewable energy efficiencies? Are we saying that they are doing the wrong things? We can look at Iceland and say, how would they achieve this? Because we're still worried here about coal. Are we, now this is the burning question, and I think this is the crux of the matter. Are we prepared to prohibit political involvement in the energy arena? And how can we do that? Or are we aiming always just to be politically correct so that we agree with everything the politicians say? We've got a democracy in this country. We can say yes and no. Can this 15% rise be the last one? If it is granted, can it be the last one or the bailout? Because there are some former manager of ESCO who very categorically said that if there is a bailout, or if there is a 15% rise, 3 years down the line, ESCO will be coming back for the same thing. We cannot go on that trajectory. Recommendations. We need to prioritize renewable energy as a matter of urgency, with government leading the process. I think government must listen to the experts. There are certain low-hanging fruits which we can hold of and then we just throw away. Some years ago there was a project of providing renewable energy geysers to IDP houses. I think that project needs to be revisited. I don't know what happened to that project. Those plants, they have to be produced in this country. It cannot be that they got to be imported from outside. And there was something wrong with the valves there in those geysers. But I mean, they are just not, they are a white elephant. They are on top of houses and they are not functioning. And that project was just dropped. If used, there was a guy here in Bloemfontein who had vision. He said, no, sometimes we need to build a new city in order to revitalize the economy. And I think Mr. Makopa in Gauteng is thinking about that when he says he wants to build new cities there. It will create jobs and so on. We've got lots of old towns here, all over the Northern Cape and Free State, which were built many years ago. Now, we are expecting ESCO to reduce costs and find new business model for its operations. and not come with all those issues that we discussed here by the experts in the morning. And more importantly, how it can remodel itself. I don't know, now maybe here I'm going to step on many chords. If we do give a bailout, it surely has to be the last one. We can't go on, it cannot be sustainable. And then all efforts must be made to reduce the cost of ESCOM producing electricity without workers being laid off. That also will get me into trouble with the capitalists. Because ESCOM is going to workforce, and we cannot just talk about laying off those people. Some of us know what unemployment is. So we need to look at ESCOM very carefully, how they're going to structure it without losing those people. Those people that are skilled can be skilled in other ways. Now, I want to withdraw some of these things. I didn't know that, I thought ESCOM didn't get money from corporates or other organizations, and then the only organization that actually sponsored ESCOM was the government. So I was making this point, ESCOM to be recognized by other sources other than government. Skilled staff to be used in other capacities within the concern. Selling of some of their properties will assist or moving to smaller properties. It's not good enough for the company to say the turnaround will take time. It should have started a long time ago. This comes from the, I don't know whether it is the CEO. He said, no, the turnaround strategy of ESCOM is going to take a long time. We cannot, we've got management practices, turnaround strategies, this management, just-in-time management, this management. We cannot have in South Africa a management of apologies where a board doesn't do its job, then they come tomorrow to say, no, we apologize to the nation. That is not good enough. Now, and municipalities and government departments to pay their electricity accounts. To me, that should be very basic. I mean, we do have the auditor's reports. When you look at the financial statements, can't you see that the Department of Public Works, from the financial statement, owes ESCOM so many millions? Is there not a warning signal for you now to caution this department? Because what I know, now here I speak from the community's perspective. Despite what people say about people not paying, I know that people in the townships, they buy electricity upfront. You can't go and buy electricity in the books there. You must pay. If they say 10 units, you pay for the 10 units. And what I know is that this money goes to the municipality. Why doesn't the municipality pay ESCOM? And who is at fault? In Kimberley last year, the municipality tried to raise, the tariffs. I mean, there were disastrous results there. There was some blockages, and fortunately nobody died. But it was terrible. Our kids didn't go to school just because of this issue of electricity. So I think it needs much more attention than what we are doing right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Budi, for your presentation. We appreciate it, and we will take your views into consideration. Thank you. All right, we are moving on to the next presenter, and we have the name of Jabulani Pumulo for wireless top-up electricity. Before you speak, may you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly declare that the facts you're going to present before this panel today will be the truth and the whole truth?
I promise.
All right. Okay. Please state your name and your position at Wireless Top-Up Electricity.
Wireless top-up electricity, I'm a founder.
Jamani, the Senate?
I'm the founder. The other name.
Oh, all right. Mukwene. Okay. All right, you may start with your presentation.
Here page 1 is Welcome to the Future. On this presentation right now, we have wireless top-up electricity, whereby there is numerous methods, I can say, There's numerous methods we can use to avoid all that we have just had a few hours ago. All you ever need is a lie, I promise you. This wire stop up electricity has run since 2015. ESCOM has recognized this numerous times. I came here today to prove that all that we have been presenting is a lie. Wire stop up electricity 2 years back, only required a 50,000 electricity product pack. Which will require now only 50,000 year on the other side. When coming to energy infrastructure in South Africa, we see that most of us are producing finger with finger. It's day-to-day practice. We cannot avoid it. The approach comes first. The company comes after. That's what happens inside ESCOM. If you want me to prove it not here, I have numerous evidence to show that. This investment is just a sample which came from my 282 projects here. It's only 12 of them. The only thing I want to elaborate that is going to know in a couple of all the time is corporate line, recycle, Lincoln, generating, power stations, small plants, which is an regulation that has to be created in order to bring those, what you call, carbon dioxide smoke. This is being caused by the building of oil and certain materials. Since we say there is no new way in no profit from that, that's a lie. You go to ESCOM and when this method is innovative or how? What comes first is the advocacy, not measuring. I blended this because ESCOM was really suffering from load in only 515, so I had to come up with a plan. So that plan only required only one, actually, how to say that before. Just people are going to realize that. Okay. 4 years ago, when I was asking you that, I was only asking for a permission or authority for you to buy me so that Philips Innovations and you can come to South Africa and produce a new product that can build as companies gradually easy apparatus to pay cash which they need. How? These are just the tools. These are just the tools. Power stations and everything, they can be put down to eliminate all that cash. This is being utilized and paying our leaders being done no matter how. I'm going to mention it. If ESCOM and other companies like agriculture and so on, because such, the question is who are we going to refer to? Or what's meant to say, here is the business plan, here is the business development plan, here is an innovation and development investment plan, and so on. No investment plan. Why we say ESCOM is trying to place energies and economic down? No, that's a lie. This project has started a few years ago. Then it was last year around September, where innovation has to be the case. But then, I can't allow for with the of Nersa and then accepted as it is. There is none. Nersa, what I do ask there's no more space where the electricity can reach places where and where they should be found. Even they are innovative products, which once they are introduced, whoever introduced them must be careful with his or her life. One comment like is down there that those people who come from homelands to still utilize electricity without any channels, open lines, or any lines, open lines presently, if you bring them down presently, what we have to do now is to go down back into investment, which is something that makes us in this school. Investment has never been achieved at the school. What I do as the is can you please let me know that now which are the values so everything is but it's not sure that we step away towards it. So it can be complicated. You can hire as many people as you like, but failure is a weapon that is practiced with failure. It is only likely to end with your steps. These are the pictures of the product. You are not around here. This is just a sample. This is not the main thing. That's what I can say. This is the visualization of the product. To guarantee the answer is that electric power mostly in the form of advanced latest technology high-power with 24/7 maintenance service reliability. There's another one. This is just a shortcut. I'm not sure if you want to follow this. This is just a presentation. That only requires your attention. Not too much. It's not very much costly. What I do now is the upcoming future to come now. Not after 2 years and in maybe 1 year, various strategies, this and that doesn't have to be done to this is after we are moving now. And there are problems. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for your presentation, and I hope when you look into your mission and vision, you will also take time to look at what Nersa does and its legal mandate, and the fact that we won't be in a position to negotiate any deals or encourage any company to buy your product. But I think with your presence today, at least it has given you an opportunity to present the product that you can bring into the market. And Nersa has indeed provided you that opportunity to state some of the features of your product. And we also appreciate your time for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're moving on to the next presenter, Free State Agri. We've got Jack Arnold as the presenter. All right, Mr. Elmo, may you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly declare that the facts you're going to present before this panel will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
All right, please state your full name and your designation at Free State Agri.
I'm Jack Ormer, Operations Manager at Free State Agri.
Okay, thank you. You may start with your presentation.
Thank you very much for this opportunity again. Seeing some familiar faces. It wasn't so long ago since we last spoke. My presentation quickly just an introduction of who we are as Free State Agriculture, our current position of farmers at the moment. I think that's the main issue that affects the affordability. The aging infrastructure, I'll show some photos on that, and then some comments on the two applications and some suggestions. So first of all, who is Free State Agriculture? We are a members organisation of 3,500 plus minus commercial farmers in the Free State. We affiliate to Agri-SA. We also have provincial commodity associations that affiliate to us, the Red Meat Producers Association, Milk Producers, National Wool Growers, Grain SA, etc. We have agribusinesses that affiliate to us as well, GWK, OVK, VKB, SEDBES, SEDBES. Just on that point, those are 6 big agribusinesses in the Free State alone. Government often criticises them of being in monopoly positions, but there are six of them that compete against them, very unlike ESCOM, who's only one who doesn't have any competition. Furthermore, we are supported by the Friends of Agriculture Network. So just quickly, the importance of agriculture in the Free State specifically, we used to have this bread basket status, which I don't think we have so much anymore, although we are still the top producer of maize in the country. But our main products that we produce are wheat, maize, sorghum, sunflower, and soya. And then the energy-intensive farming operations that we have with irrigation, pork, chicken, and dairy farms. Free State Agriculture's GDP that comes from agriculture is 5%, versus at the national level, agriculture only contributes 2%. Interestingly, in the Free State, the energy supply sector also contributes 5% to the GDP of the Free State. Agriculture in the Free State absorbs 9.4% of the labour in the Free State, where the energy sector only absorbs 1.1%. Furthermore, electricity on average over all, this graph I showed last year, but Mr. Janssen, you asked me pertinently what percentage does electricity contribute to agricultural production, depending on the crop that you're growing. Wheat 10%, maize 11%, lucerne up to 20%. So in the range of between 10 and 20%. And that's just the direct cost of energy for the production and irrigation. But then if you take out the cost you pay to the water board and their cost of electricity to get the water to you, that's also energy cost, and that pushes it up from 10 to 16% for wheat, for example. Once again, part of being price takers and the volatility that we are exposed to as agricultural producers, the current maize price, crop prices are very much the same as they were 5 years ago. Where ESCOM's prices increase and the tariffs increase, CPIX and more, we're getting the same prices we were getting 5 years ago for our crops. There was a peak after the drought in 2016-17 when the prices shot up. There was a good rainfall the following year, a lot of farmers planted, and because of the high production again, the prices dropped again. And there's just an illustration of not an illustration, it's facts, but it only goes to 2016, I don't know the latest figures, but how the cost of energy in irrigation crop production increases year on year, where farmers' price that they get for their produce has remained very much the same over the last 5 years. So, in the Free State specifically, we are still #1 producer of sunflower and of maize, and then dry beans and potatoes as well. And a couple of specialty crops as well, but most of them are done on dry land. These apples, they are irrigation crops. But if you look at the energy-intensive crops, eggs, broilers, pigs, and milk, we are only number 3, number 7, number 6, and number 4 in relation to other provinces. So the energy-intensive produce, we're not the top producers in the country. But with the extensive grains, we are #1. So if you look at the profile of agricultural energy users in the Free State, you've got your extensive users and you've got your intensive users. Your extensive commercial farmers, 65% of our members are essentially SMEs. They are small-scale producers if you look at their turnover, and more than 75% will actually be exempt if you look at the scorecard, the thresholds. Most of them, these essential commercial farmers, only need the energy for the ESCOM for the household, the house, the workshop, some labour housing, and some watering points. But each transformer that provides energy to each one of these points has got a hefty basic supply and line fee before the power usage can be used. So in most of these accounts, more than 60% of the account is actually the fixed cost component, the line fees, and not the supply fees. And the energy consumption is less than 40%. But our intensive commercial farms, the irrigation farmers, specifically in the Free State, they obviously have a much higher energy use, and the reliability of supply is also very important for them. So the load shedding does affect them and the whole value chain and the cold chain adversely as well. Here's just an example of two accounts. The one account was for the first January 2017. Pointer, which was the pointer. Come away from the mic. There's a pointer. There one can clearly see there's your service charge, your network charge. That's nearly 1,000 rand. The energy is only about 300 rand that is being consumed. There one can see the big jump in your energy cost, your energy charge, and 0.79. Oh, sorry, I put the wrong one over here. From 79 cents the kilowatt hour up to 2 rand, just in basically 2 years. Fixed cost component here also over 1,000 rand here. This is a different household, it's not the same household, but just also illustrating the energy. Really is double of the fixed cost component, but the fixed cost component is still very hefty. That's what I'm actually trying to point out. And also the rise in your energy charge from 79 cents to 2.15 in less than 2 years. The big issue at the moment is the current situation of the farmers that affects their ability to absorb a price hike in energy costs. So we're currently going through the worst year in 100 years. And I've got a lot of facts and figures to show this, and I'm not going to, if you require them, I can supply them. I'm just going to go through quickly. I mean, we're in the middle of climate change. We had an extended drought since 2014-15, with a bumper year in 2016-17, but then the price has dropped to 5 years back. So we've got climatic risk, we've got price volatility. We are faced with a lot of failed fires, of which ESCOM is one of the causes. And a lot of theft incidences where people are stealing cable for irrigation. So it's not ESCOM cable, but it does affect your productivity. And it's the same, I suppose, same kind of stuff that ESCOM is having stolen from their premises as well. So we need as government not just to also look at theft. So that's the average farmer in the Free State, with stock theft and equipment theft, is losing up to 400,000 rand a year. It's a huge safety risk that we face as well. Furthermore, the expected low maize production, at least 20% less, has been planted, and then there's still going to be lower yields on that 20% less that's been planted, will lead to a drop in, has already led to a drop in livestock prices. So we face huge price volatility. We are the least subsidized agricultural sector globally. And then we've also got the political uncertainty regarding land. So it's all those risks, all those issues that make farming in South Africa really tough business at the moment. So the agricultural sector is currently in a very dire situation. If one looks at this map of the average 10-day topsoil moisture in the whole, well, half of the Free State, but the whole of the Northern Cape where Mr. Jansen comes from, if you look at the moisture that's available in the soil, it means it's dry. It means that if for 7 days plant is in that soil, it's going to die. And if we don't get rain in 7 days, so from the 17th to tomorrow, if there hasn't been rain, whatever is in that soil is going to die. And a lot of the crops that we've planted over here are not going to make it because we haven't had. I don't think we're going to get rain by tomorrow. So it just shows the extent of the problem of the drought in the Free State at the moment. I did a quick survey amongst our farmers on WhatsApp, survey to our members and stuff, and just gained some of the perceptions that farmers have towards Eskom. First of all, a lot of farmers say they're a monopoly, they do what they want, and they control energy supply. Yet the farmers are dependent on them despite alternative energy, because the regulations also make it very difficult and also prohibitive, the larger scale energy units that one wants to build. So the farmers remain dependent on this monopoly, and they also feel that Eskom is state-controlled and manipulated. There's a lot of mistrust. They feel that Eskom is very inefficient. The whole issue of municipal debt is unacceptable. And then they also, from the news reports and everything that have come out lately, they feel Eskom is corrupt, state capture, and they feel that the culprits that have been robbing our nation of the money is to pay back the money. So all of this together with this downward spiraling utility debt spiral, it doesn't bode well for Eskom. This happened in February 2018, aging infrastructure, huge big infrastructure, Eskom pylons collapsing in a strong wind. And it wasn't abnormally strong winds, it was high strong wind incidences, but power was down for 4 or 5 days. It was a big crisis. Thank goodness these lines didn't set the filter alight. But it just shows the failing infrastructure. There's another example of pylons that fell down. What are the consequences of this aging infrastructure and load shedding? Veld fires, huge claims against Eskom. Because Eskom is not doing proper maintenance, I don't know how many millions, if it's not billions, of claims have been lodged against Eskom in the past couple of years because of veld fires. And that has a huge impact on the survival of the farmers on those farms. To take a knock, often it takes up to 5 years before a claim pays out. What does that farmer do for 5 years? His veld is burned down, his palms are burned down, his livestock is burnt. It's really difficult for a farmer to get back on his feet until the claim is paid out. Even insurance takes quite a while to claim out, so to pay out. Whole chain interruptions and equipment losses with power shedding, staff downtime and unproductivity, it all costs the agricultural sector a lot of money over and above what they're paying for Eskom. This is a photograph of the veld fire that happened. It was caused by Eskom in Tromsburg, 15th of November. Huge areas, 20-something farms that burned down over there, thousands of hectares, sheep, cattle, a lot of, luckily no human loss, but a lot of loss in animal lives. Yet despite all of this, there's a lot of goodwill on the ground of the farmers towards Eskom. There's photographs of our farmers assisting technicians, taking food. This was at the Tennyson where those poles blew down. Those guys were working 4 hours a day, 24 hours a day. We have great appreciation for Eskom staff that goes beyond the call of duty to do their job and to restore power. And there's evidence of farmers taking their food parcels, taking their nice cold cool drinks and stuff. So the goodwill on the ground is there, but the farmers do not trust what is happening higher up. So some of the suggestions on the President's Economic Stimulus and Recovery Plan, the South African Infrastructure Plan. So one of the suggestions is, instead of recovering the aging infrastructure costs, because showing all this aging infrastructure is actually shooting ourselves in the foot. We're saying, yes, we do need to pay more so that the infrastructure can be fixed. But as the infrastructure is a public good, should that not be funded by an economic stimulus fund instead of being claimed back from the paying consumer? And then a lot of that infrastructure and the line fees that Mr. Janssen spoke about earlier, that was paid for by the farmers, has now been extended, and those lines are now supplying free basic electricity to indigents who have got a right to that electricity. So why should we still be paying for those expensive line fees? Furthermore, Channel Power 100 development to Virginia, we've had a meeting with Eskom where they said there's excess capacity to supply electricity around the gold fields where the mining has stopped. People are still there, unemployed. There's a great chance for economic development to channel Power 100 development to the Virginia area, for example. To comment on the MYPD 3 revenue clearing application,
I'm giving you additional 3 minutes. The 15 minutes is up.
Okay, sure. Okay, we acknowledge what has been approved. It's still a lot of money that is being applied for. the period for which the money been approved is the period during which the main corruption happened, and those corruption investigations are still being done. So I think, as Mr. Blom said, let's first get those documentation before we approve. Furthermore, ESCOM should not be allowed to transfer the costs of mismanagement, irregularities, corruption, and inefficiencies to the consumer. Spiraling, Madupe costs, poor quality coal contracts, capture. Who takes responsibility for this? It can't be the consumer. Furthermore, and I think Mr. Janssen spoke to the 15% plus the 4% revenue clearing application is going to be 19%. This will have a huge adverse effect on agricultural sustainability and food security. Additional shocks to the crippling drought and political instability driving away investment and talent from South Africa. Our country can't afford this. So in conclusion, and it's pretty much the same conclusion as I said last year, we can't afford this. We need alternative energy to be supplied, and please make it easier for farmers, small-scale suppliers, to be able to pump into the grid and to earn additional revenue from this. ESCOM still needs to turn itself around and build trust before it can be allowed to increase fees anything above CPIX. Even CPIX at the moment, the farmers have been saying in the WhatsApp group, please, not even that can they afford. Nersa has a very important decision to make and needs all the necessary professionalism, information and expertise to do this. Due diligence, state capture reports and the rest. A nation that takes care of its agriculture takes care of its future. Become a friend of agriculture and support agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amo. I think we've got two questions, one from Mr. Mkhize and the other from Mr. Udise. Mr. Mkhize.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thanks for the presentation. One, I understand the being concerned and can be dealt with separately. And then the energy sector does create opportunities outside of itself and not necessarily within. So I think it would have helped in the presentation to also provide information that says, here we are now, if this increase is afforded or this change in the price, it will result in this kind of a change. So many people currently are using own generation. If we move in this space, this is what's going to happen, just to provide that. And I think that if you allow it, or you require that you provide the information, so you can help in terms of our socio-economic impact analysis. And then the other issue is that I did not understand the link between the Fed fires and ESCOM. Maybe you can just help me just to understand the link. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moses.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Amma. Just the two small questions. Have you, as an industry, made representation in the Department of Energy? You decry the fact that the regulations prevent you from generating your own electricity, or at least your members doing so. But I'm not sure whether you are aware that in the new IRP that's just gone through public consultation, the Department of Energy has allocated about 200 megawatts per annum for that sort of off-grid powers. We'll just call it small-scale embedded generators and that sort of thing. But I think obviously SNS has a limit. But I think the question is: are you making representations to generate your own power, and why is it that you're not looking to taking advantage of the 200 megawatt per annum? But the second issue is, this billing that you've given, that those two accounts for a farmhouse. Perhaps if you give us ones that are more comparable, because it doesn't appear that it's the same client, and but also
the tariff, to be increasing from 79 cents per kilowatt hour to 2 rands. It just sounds a little higher than one would expect. But perhaps it's just a case that they're not comparable. Maybe if you can give us figures that are more comparable. And maybe something that's allied to this is, there was, Eskom was saying that we don't have cost-reflective tariffs. But your members as farmers, they're not just, your capacity charge or network charge seems to indicate that you're paying for the fact that you're a little removed from concentrated areas in the grid. Do you agree that your tariff is not cost-reflective? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. We've indicated earlier on that what we would like to get the further input that we require to assist our sectoral elasticity analysis. So we need to perform some sectoral elasticity analysis just to test the price sensitivity of some of the farmers in your organization. So to see whether farmers would reduce consumption of electricity or will increase consumption of electricity or will look into how they can reduce some of the costs. That for us is quite important because it will help us in scrutinizing the assumptions made by Eskom, and we'll do it with other sectors as well to see whether indeed it is accurate to state that the volumes of electricity as now assumed by Eskom will indeed increase. So we want to test that by getting factual information from customers themselves and from various sectors. So hence we need to do a thorough elasticity analysis and test the sensitivity or responsiveness to price increase and how the farmers or other industries will tolerate even the smallest increase and how much more on the 15% increase and looking into other increases that were previously approved. So if you can help us with that kind of analysis, having painted this context, and you will get other specific questions in the form of a letter. The letter is ready and it will be sent to you after this hearing. Thank you. Thank you. If you could respond to those that have been asked now.
If you don't want me to respond now, you want me to respond?
We can touch on it, but most of the questions so that we can get it in writing, and it will also help you to consult with some of the farmers so that you give much more accurate responses. Then you can submit to the energy regulator within 7 days.
Okay. I just want to say one thing in conclusion, if I may, Madam Chair. I think for us to make scenarios about the future is more difficult than Eskom to get its estimated consumption figure on par, because we face far more risks, and that's what I was trying to show with nature, the environment against us, rainfall, political risk, all the issues that face us. So it's very difficult to make such a full forecast, but we can do our best to do that. And just the link between Veldfires and Eskom, many Eskom power lines that because of bad maintenance or else lack of inspection, poles that have been damaged or stuff from livestock, from wind, the elements, the lines touch, they spark, a bird lands there, whatever, and it causes the fire. So the cause of a lot of Veldfires and the cause of unnecessary expenditure from Eskom is paying out insurance claims against Eskom, where Eskom infrastructure has caused fires. And a lot of it can be prevented through proper maintenance and inspection. I think that's all. The rest I'll supply in writing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Thank you. We're now going to have a presentation from Salga. I have the name of Sanokolo Futwa. Sanokolo Futwa from Salga. Mr. Futa, may you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare that the facts you're going to provide before this panel today will be the truth and the whole truth? Thank you. May you please state your full name and your designation at SALGA.
My name is I am the head of administration and operations at South Africa State.
Okay, thank you very much. You may start with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chairperson, maybe let me start by providing this background context. As SALGA, we are an association for the people that do not understand. We are an association of municipalities, and all municipalities are our members, so we speak on behalf of our municipalities. In this province, 23 of them and 257 in the country. We have consolidated mandate from our municipalities throughout 2018. We convened all stakeholders in March of 2018 to consolidate solutions around this and proposals around how we can best resolve this challenge. In December, we met in Durban as municipalities and we reconfirmed the position that is summarized in a submission. We have provided the regulator with a written submission, and the presentation that I am going to do, in the context of time, I will try not to repeat some of the issues that have been raised already, and is a presentation that I will just try and focus on those key areas, high-level areas that have not been emphasized this morning. And you do have the copies of this detailed presentation, but I will focus on the high-level summary, and if there are any questions, then deal with the questions. Firstly, maybe as a general comment, I just have a few points that I would like to be taken into consideration by the regulator. One is that our municipalities do appreciate and acknowledge the strategic role of ESCOM in our country as well as in our development. We also wish to re-emphasize the point that has been made by our municipalities a number of times to the regulator, that the concern of the sovereign debt concern as a risk needs to be juxtaposed to the risk of the sovereign security that is caused by the rebellion that arose when applications in the past 6 years of this nature are allowed at a rate that is far higher than the performance of the macroeconomy. It is passing a risk from one point to another, and that risk often manifests itself in the problems that we have to resolve as municipalities, because we serve as a theater on which the drama between the state and its citizens takes place. So when people raise frustrations about these issues, they tend to create difficulties for ourselves at municipal level. The other points that I would like to be taken into consideration is that we've gone through the detailed presentation by ESCOM, and we feel that the assumptions on which it is built are not in tandem with the macroeconomic indicators which impact on all of us. And that is a concern that our municipalities have asked us to stress with the regulator. The second part is that there is a cumulative effect to the customers that we serve as municipalities as a result of the last 6 cycles, which have all of them been above inflation. In fact, they all have been double the inflation. And this has created difficulties. If I may give an example in that context, in a municipality, for us to have our budgets, which is the basis on which we are able to afford whatever it is we're going to do, including the honoring of the creditor payments and on bulk purchases, we are forced by law to consult and receive concurrence from our stakeholders. And through that process, it has never been possible in the history of this country to get our stakeholders to agree on any increment that is above inflation. And our increments have consistently been hovering between 20 and 25% on a consistent level for the past 6 years. And the cumulative effect of that has been seen in the manner in which, coupled with the non-performance of the macroeconomy, we have seen our difficulties as expressed by the debt that has escalated between 2009 from about 3 billion to December 2018, 7.4 billion, only in the Free State. And of this, 82% is in 3 municipalities. It has caused havoc. A municipality in this province, as a result of the mismatch between agreed tariff decisions to our application as a licensee municipality and that of the provider for bulk, ESCOM, in the last cycle, has created a situation where a municipality that did not have difficulties paying ESCOM, and when ESCOM implemented that decision, the bill of that municipality moved from 5 million to 9.8 million. And this is a decision that in a municipality, you have only one window to get the budget approved legally. So you have a situation where you must then carry over for the next 12 months in order to correct. And you are then accumulating the difficulty of affordability in this. And we have also indicated in our submission some of the areas on which our members were finding it difficult to understand in the application. There are defects in the application, or there are areas of clarity that requires attention. And these relate to, you will see in the detailed presentation, the issue of the sales volume, the forecasting on that. I think the rationality behind the assumption needs to be tested. The issue of a 30% depreciation input or contribution into the current application is something that is questionable, and we would like that to be clarified. Perhaps there is information that we are not privy to, which can help us understand that better. There are also issues relating to the primary energy information. The content information in the application is insufficient for us to appreciate the connection in terms of the energy mix and the direction of the country. And these are the things that we would like the regulator, in considering the application, to take into context. There are also issues of cost containment and the issues of unintended consequences of the decisions that have been given. One of those unintended consequences of the decision that have been given is a situation in which the current model of RCA, in fact I could even include the MYPD, is seen by our members as partly promoting unsound planning and inefficiencies which are passed over to the consumer without giving or enforcing a culture of responsibility for poor planning and sound forecasting. An example is the element in the formula that focuses on incentivizing recovery of unrealized revenue from a figure that you determine yourself as planned volume. And that planned volume, when it's not realized, we don't ask questions why it's not realized and why did you make assumption that you will sell X amount of volume. We allow a window through the current rules. So our issue there that we've been asked by municipalities to please raise to the regulator. It may be something that you do not correct in terms of this particular application, but in future to take into context, is the relevance of the RCA in the context of the policy trajectory that the country is entering into. Given this background, I would like to probably just do a summary of what are the positions that we have on the application. One, on both applications, the RCA and the MYPD, our municipalities are concerned about affordability. And we've been asked to convey the message that the current rate that is asked is not acceptable. And we tried to understand from our municipality what would be acceptable in the context of the previous and cumulative figures. The best that our municipalities, in line with our commitment to understand the strategic role that ESCOM should play, is between 4 and 5%. And this is not PAMSA. It is based on the statistics that we have in the country. And from 2012 to 2022, our projected GDP growth and our projected inflation, is between 4.5% and 5.5% during this period. And the current rates at which we are asked to increase are way beyond that. The problem with that for municipalities that are in the Free State in particular is that, one, it is going to cause cumulative problem of unaffordable debt. Of the 7.4 billion as of December, 40% of that is non-consumption debt. It's penalties, interest, and our DORA for next year and for the next 3 years has cumulatively decreased. We do not know where we're going to get the information, the money to sustain increased. The other challenge is that it is starting to impact on our constitutional obligation. So this is impacting our constitutional obligation to develop South Africa in the areas we have jurisdiction on. We are unable to approve plans as a result of our inability to ensure that we can be able to meet the demand. The problem is that that demand, which has been placed in the RCA, is a demand that has not been tested. It is assumed demand. This assumed demand is assumed in the context of us accepting IPPs, which are going to take part of that, but we are anticipating that the demand will grow. When that demand is not realized, we are going to come back to you and ask for unrealized revenues. And that is a concern from us. If I may conclude, Chairperson, just the few points I want to do with regards to conclusions. One is our municipalities have unequivocally asked us to plead with you this round to not accept an increment that is unaffordable, because it will create problems, and to sensitize you on the unintended consequence in which a problem from the balance sheet of ESCOM is passed over to a governance collapse at the municipal level. Secondly, for the current model of regulation to be revisited insofar as it utilizes the RCA mechanism, and the pros and cons of this mechanism will be tested or be revised in line with the current country's policy trajectory that is changing and the current macroeconomic realities that are placed in this country, all of us. We are all players in the same market. And Zanoko Futwa is affected by inflation from the money that he gets, which does not grow. It is difficult when this money is assumed to grow through the mechanism when we are asked to expand our affordable levels through this. We trust on you as our regulator that you will make the right decision and ensure that in that decision the real challenge of affordability is taken into consideration. 2, the current developments in terms of the policy changes that are being discussed at IGR level through an IMTT and the panel recommendations are taken into consideration. Thirdly, the impact of the inefficiencies and misfocusing in our plans must be taken into consideration, because our municipalities are worried that we cannot continuously sustain taking responsibility for that. And Chairperson, I think I won't go to the detailed presentation because of time. I tried to just touch and summarize the issues.
Yes, we thank you very much for that, because the time is up now. All right, I just want to check if there's any question from the members of the panel. Mr. Foley, nothing from your side. Mr. Spanda, any question from your side?
Yeah, so given your presentation, so one of your recommendations is that we should actually scrap the whole sales portion of the application or do away with the whole RCA. So I just need to understand where you're coming from, given what the methodology provides for, and as a regulator, we operate within that framework where we have to apply, the laws and the regulations that we administer. So how do you suggest then that we should ignore what is in the methodology? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spanda. Mr. Mkisa.
Thank you. I think I'm covered by Mr. Spanda. I was also looking, sorry, the Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'll say I'm covered by my colleague, Mr. Spanda. I was also looking at that it would help for you to, instead of just saying scrap, to also say what would then be reasonable going in there. And really, if you're looking at the municipalities with their economic development and energy departments, we should be getting a picture as to say what would be the impact, even at a municipal level, of these increases, which will then help. Maybe from the metros you can get that as assist in terms of the kind of information, because it then informs the macroeconomic impact of whatever increase in electricity that will then be affected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkisa.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Kuchwa. ESCOM says your members are part of the problem. And they mentioned the municipal debt that is not paid to ESCOM. And do you agree that you're part of the problem? Because you seem to be painting a picture where, in fact, this increasing tariffs and the real end consumers who are customers of the municipality, because of affordability and things that you just mentioned, are unable to pay, and therefore there seems to be really I think one is blaming the other. So you're saying your tariffs are going up too high, and 20% on average, and the figures that you just mentioned, and it's having an impact on your customers' affordability. They can't pay you, and you even mentioned that your municipal debt, even just in your area, I don't know, 7.4 billion. 40% is penalties, and so you're painting a picture where I think activities or actions taken by ESCOM are impacting on your ability to pay them. So it appears to be a chicken and egg situation. Firstly, I'll be part of the problem, but how do we then break this vicious cycle? Because ESCOM just doesn't seem to be acknowledging the tariffs increases have that big impact on the economy. And in fact, in their tariff applications, I think they're saying that 90% tariff increase will have only a slight impact on GDP growth. A small negative impact. And so there seems to be a real misunderstanding. So firstly, are we part of the problem? And then secondly, how do we break this vicious circle with one, I think, seeing the others, it seems to be creating this problem. And then the second issue is ESCOM is saying that they've made some sacrifices. That we sacrifice the return and things of that nature. And you're mentioning all these cumulative effects. I think the real question that I want to understand though is, if the consultation is not working, then what's the point of consulting? I mean, you are supposed to consult with ESCOM before you make a submission, or at least before ESCOM make a submission. Are they effective? I know we did ask this also in Cape Town. Are they working or not? And then maybe the question on your model. And do you, as SALGA, have any recommendations on what you think? And this is a regulatory model, which seems to be, perhaps it may just be providing perverse incentives to a licensee like ESCOM, where it's not taking the right decisions, and as a regulator we're open to looking at our methodologies and really improving for the benefit of the country. The question that I need to ask though is, do you have any recommendations in that regard? And if you don't have now, it would be useful to provide that to us at a point in the future. Thank you.
If you can respond, Mr. Futo.
Thank you very much. Can we be given an opportunity to consolidate from our members and give you detailed written input on some of these things, except just to respond maybe to one or two right now?
Please do so.
The first one, I think on the issue of what are the proposals around how we can change the regulatory model, we will have to provide a written input on that. Are you part of the problem? Unequivocally, yes. There are areas of the problem that our government doing. I will concede that. However, in the context of our relationship with the regulator, we are finding ourselves being put in a corner that causes us to be deliberate. I think the first question is linked to the last question. It would be better for us to just consolidate and diverse view across our members and give you a written input on those. And we shall be able to do that if we can be given reasonable time, perhaps before the February outing one, we can give you something on it.
Thank you very much. We would appreciate that if you can give us that input in writing within 7 days, or at least around the 4th of February. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, we are moving on to the next presenter, which is Mutsabelo Unemployed Movement, and we have the name of Kokoma Mutsi. Kokoma Mutsi. Mr. Mutsi, may you please raise your right hand? And do you solemnly declare that the facts you're going to present before this panel will be the truth and the whole truth? All right, all right, may you please then state your full name as well as your position at Mutsabelo Unemployed Movement for the record.
Coordinator Unemployed Movement.
All right, that utagua Sesotho or utagua English? All right, that so that is
our input is based on community participation. My inputs here are not academic nor professional, but informed by community life experiences and our participatory action program that Botshabelo Unemployed Movement is doing at the ground level. BAM is a community-based organization committed to address the massive issues of the unemployed, such as democratic control, social justice, and non-sectarian approach. BAM aims to serve both rural and peri-urban poor communities of our region. BAM is a membership-based organization located in Botshabelo, which is about 52 kilometers away from Bloemfontein, in a former apartheid homeland of Kwatwa, and the venue for this Nersa public hearing is a clear reflection of that apartheid arrangements. Unemployment is a man-made crisis. It is a crisis caused by over-accumulation, profit maximization, and ecological destructive system of capitalism, where people with least access of resources are excluded and live in the periphery. We need a society that is built on the needs of the people, not on profit. BAM is an affiliation of a National Assembly of the Unemployed, Inyanga National Movement of the Rural Poor, Land Access and Agroecology Struggles. BAM is a member of the 1 Million Climate Jobs campaign, which advocates for the universal provision of cheap electricity. We also strive to see a public utility sector such as ESCOM to enhance a cleaner energy which reduces carbon emissions. We are concerned that this public hearing has been called in this hotel where poor marginalized communities are excluded. BAM as an organization thought that service delivery is not implemented in hotels but at the community levels, because hotels are in business of promoting tourism and other services where most of the unemployed poor working class could not afford to come to this presentation or public hearings convened by Nersa. In future, we would like Nersa to consider energy or electricity regulation as another important aspect of service delivery that gets taken to the people, not to the hotels, where only business can afford to come and make presentations. The Stats SA shows that at least the last quarter of 2018, unemployment stands at 29%, which according to us is not even a true reflection of the unemployed levels in this country. The reality is that unemployment starts at ±41% of the South African population, with the youth and women being mostly affected. Just imagine 9.8 million people not working. Imagine the poverty and inequality in this country. Why should we allow capitalists like ESCOM to push us to the dustbins because of greed and corruption? It is just unfortunate that most of you have already left. Has ESCOM considered affordability and accessibility of the poor working class, the condition that we are living under? Has ESCOM considered why we are in this situation? Because your management cannot manage this public entity properly, because of the continued media reports we received on corruption of state public enterprise. So why should the poor bear the brunt of ESCOM's alleged corruption? If you increase the tariffs, the units go down, especially for most of us who buy electricity at our locality. Why is it like that? We do understand that we live in an unequal society caused by capitalism that is implemented by African National Congress. But as the poor, we cannot allow ourselves to be pushed to most difficult situation by the great administration. So stop treating ESCOM like a private entity when it is a public entity. And you have the ability to do so as Nersa. As poor communities, we declare that the proposed electricity tariff is unreasonably high and has direct impact on us as residents. Therefore, we request that ESCOM should relook at the multi-year price determination which serves to regulate electricity price over the next 3 years to be considerate of our socio-economic conditions as the unemployed people, or request ESCOM not to increase electricity tariffs and provide energy efficient solution for us. ESCOM must decrease tariffs rather than increasing them. The idea that municipalities must generate revenue through basic service delivery issues such as electricity and water services should be scrapped. Communities must buy electricity directly from ESCOM, not municipality, or Treasury must improve funding allocation to local government to lessen the burden of the poor working class. As cash-strapped consumers, we make an urgent plea to Nersa to end energy poverty, inequality and unemployment, and scrap ESCOM's request for tariff increases. Does ESCOM have new plans to improve the situation on investing in new ways of generating electricity? Why can't ESCOM champion South Africa towards low carbon, wage-led and sustainable health? What is the responsibility of the government in extracting minerals from our land? Is it to make some of you and your families rich at the expense of the poor? As government, are you sending good quality coal outside the country and use third grade for South Africa, and you buy it very, very, very high? We request that ESCOM produce electricity in a climate-friendly way. We request a massive rollout of energy-efficient projects, such as renewable energy, to be part of ESCOM electricity plan, as stated in the draft IRP 2018 policy review, and provision to the township and rural dwellers who cannot afford high electricity prices. You must remember that 9.8 million people are not working. That is why this hall is empty, because of groanings here. In conclusion, today's presentation is a sign of resistance to the current ESCOM's tariff request and the impact of that on the service delivery on poor communities. You cannot further push the poor to the inequality, poverty, and unemployment and expect being treated by golden class. People are organizing themselves on the ground, so you must not be surprised when the people are standing up. Because of alleged corruption happening in the public utility, tax the rich for the benefit of the poor, because most of you are the rich people in this world. We stand against this economic catastrophe caused by ESCOM. Most of ESCOM elites are gone, and that is a concern to us. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to us as Motshabelo Unemployed Movement.
And we'll take them into consideration, including the location of these public hearings. We thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Can we get a copy of that presentation? There will be a gentleman at the back, I think it's Walter, or another, to make a copy of that presentation. Thank you very much. All right, we are going to get ESCOM to present, in fact, just respond to the issues raised by the stakeholders. Do you solemnly declare that the information that you're going to provide to the panel today will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Please state your name and your designation at ESCOM.
Okay, my name is Hamsha Totlalimaje. I'm the General Manager in Regulation at ESCOM.
All right, please, you can respond to the issues raised.
I think we would like to thank Nersa for affording ESCOM an opportunity and also providing an opportunity for other stakeholders to engage on ESCOM's 2 applications. It provides Nersa an opportunity to execute its mandate of balancing the impact on the consumers as well as ensuring the sustainability of ESCOM as is required by its mandate and is reflected in its methodology. So we do appreciate the balance that Nersa is applying and will continue to apply in the way that it asks its questions and in the way that it will make its decision. We do hear the concerns that have been raised, and we did acknowledge the various proposals for the assistance that has been provided by certain stakeholders in this particular session in Bloemfontein. And we especially hear the concerns raised by the farming community, and we just like to clarify that that is a situation that we have been dealing with, and we will continue to have engagements with the farming community to make further proposals to Nersa on how best it can deal with that particular aspect of the economy as far as tariffs are concerned. So this is an ongoing process. ESCOM has taken a leadership role in trying to define how best this can be managed, and will make proposals to Nersa in that effect. I think the point of cost reflectivity has come up many times, and ESCOM will continue to undertake in the next 4 sessions that we have to provide more information to the regulator board members for them to make an informed decision. This is a complex argument, and it is something that we have written extensively about in our applications, but I think it's sometimes better to provide it in a verbal format, and further questions can be asked. We do recognize that Nersa is committed to the sustainability of the industry, and we appreciate and respect that, and we do look up to Nersa in making the right decision. They do have an important role to play in the economy of the country, and I think in the last few days, as has been pointed out by the ESCOM treasurer, that comments have been made about the importance of ESCOM and its borrowings in the country, and I think that those 2 comments were made recently by both the World Bank and Goldman Sachs. We also we do hear the comments made as far as affordability is concerned, but it needs to be also looked at holistically as far as the reliability of an electricity service. We note the points related to price elasticity. We have spoken extensively about this issue. We have included it in our submission documents, and we will have a specific session. I think it is in Rustenburg that we will spend more time as far as that is concerned. Okay, and we'd like to also point out that many requests were made for policy changes, methodology changes, regulatory changes, etc. And ESCOM has to make sure that when it makes its application, that it is compliant to the methodology. Nersa, when ESCOM has made its initial submission, Nersa goes through a thorough process to check for compliance to the methodology, and therefore the methodology is what guides us, and the methodology is guided by both the electricity pricing policy as well as the Electricity Regulation Act, just to name the two key ones. There are others as well. So I think it's important for stakeholders to be aware of Eskom's situation as far as making this application. It is guided by the methodology, and there have been proposals for changes to the methodology, and Eskom will gladly participate in any such process that basically keeps to what the legislation requires. So we thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you very much, Nersa. We still want to emphasize that we're still waiting for the detailed information requested in Cape Town, PE, and in Devon, including the one on the elasticity. I hear that you said it's already included, but it is not included within the framework of what we articulated to say what exactly we need to look at. So it means the sufficiency of whatever you may have submitted is not satisfactory.
Yes, ma'am. We do acknowledge that, and I think the point was also made by several of the regulator members to provide further details on the changes that might have happened from the time that the application was made to before the decision is made. And we will, in all the Gauteng hearings, we have 3 opportunities, and we appreciate those 3 opportunities where we will basically put all of that together and make firm proposals on the changes that have occurred in the environment since the application was made. So we do appreciate and respect that opportunity.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor, for the responses. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this hearing today, but we are still continuing with our public hearings. So we'll be in Nelspruit on Friday, and would like to thank everyone who attended today and for your views, and also just observing some of the information that keeps coming up, and also reacting to that information and assisting this process for Nersa to be able to hear the views of the various stakeholders. We know that sometimes there's some new information that comes to the fore, and it is important that it gets scrutinized during this process. And we do appreciate the fact that stakeholders take note of such information and new things that they get disclosed, and that will assist us in getting the views of various stakeholders as well as proposals. We want to encourage you to submit additional information as we have requested. It will assist us a great deal, particularly in scrutinizing the rationale and the factual basis of some of the assumptions, including the assets that are supposed to be admitted or excluded from the regulatory asset base. That contribution will appreciate it from the various stakeholders, so that at least we can see the value of these gatherings and the attendance of the stakeholders. We also encourage Eskom to take the opportunity to provide additional information and the clarity that we require. It will not help if the response is not sufficient, because we'll base our analysis and our further independent verification from the facts that we've gathered from consumers and from other stakeholders. So this is really the opportunity to interact with the members that are here and provide the kind and acknowledge the line of questioning, because that is the kind of scrutiny and analysis that we are going to follow, and we expect Eskom to then provide sufficient details before we take the final decision. I would like to thank everyone, the members of the public, the ER members that are here, Team Nersa, interpreters as well as translators that are here with us, and for staying until the end of this gathering. We thank you very much. We look forward to seeing some of you in the subsequent hearings that are going to be in other provinces. Thank you for your time, and drive safely back home.